Welcome to a place where pocket change transforms into powerful stories of hidden fortune and remarkable value, where a seemingly ordinary coin, like the 1990 Washington $quarter, minted in Denver, circulated among millions, and originally worth just 25 cents, can command an astonishing price of up to $439 or even more on the collector's market, all because of astonishing errors, overlooked anomalies, and minting mistakes that elevate it far beyond its face value, because this is not just a coin, it's a mystery wrapped in metal, stamped with history, imperfection, and potential treasure. And if you're someone who's ever handed over loose change at a gas station, found a coin in a parking lot, or cleaned out a drawer only to discover a stack of old quarters, then this video is especially for you, because you might be sitting on a small but powerful asset that, once evaluated, authenticated, and understood, could bring you unexpected financial gain. And now, as we dive deep into the incredible world of rare coins, let's talk about why the 1990 quarter has become one of the most talked about and exciting coins for collectors, and why it's creating waves in auctions, numismatic circles, and online communities, starting with the fact that this quarter is known for its unique minting errors that not only make it a rarity, but also drive its high valuation. And it's not just a matter of age or scarcity, because billions of quarters are minted every year, but only a tiny fraction of them contain the special, unintentional variations that collectors hunt for relentlessly. And with the 1990 quarter, one of the most recognized errors is the off-center strike, which occurs when the coin blank, or planchet, is not properly seated in the press during striking, resulting in a design that appears shifted or incomplete. And these off-center quarters can range from minor to dramatic, with those that retain the full date and mint mark while also showing significant displacement being the most prized, especially in high grades. And then there's the double die error, an anomaly that happens when the die used to strike the coin has a misalignment or duplication in the engraving, leading to doubling of letters, numbers, or design elements on the coin itself. And this is especially noticeable in the motto, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or even George Washington's profile and the reverse eagle's feathers. And while most people wouldn't notice this at a glance, under magnification these doubled images jump out and become a signature of incredible value. And the collector market recognizes these errors for their uniqueness and scarcity, making coins with such features command large sums, particularly when they're in mint state condition like MS63, MS65, or higher. And another exciting aspect is the presence of die cracks, small raised lines on the coin's surface that occur when the die used to strike the coin develops a crack. And when that cracked die strikes coins, the metal flows into the crack and forms a raised ridge that's visible on the coin itself, giving it a distinctive look and a unique identity that separates it from the billions of flawless coins minted each year. And some 1990 quarters even exhibit what's called a cut error, which is a die break near the edge of the coin that results in a blob of metal and a loss of design detail in that area. And these cut errors are highly collectible, especially when large and prominent, and each one is different, which adds to their appeal as one-of-a-kind items. And now consider broad strikes, another type of error where the collar die, which normally keeps the coin's shape in check, malfunctions, allowing the planchet to expand beyond its normal diameter during striking and giving the coin a misshapen, expanded look that makes it immediately stand out from standard coins. And then there's the category of wrong planchet errors, where a quarter might be mistakenly struck on a blank, meant for a nickel, dime, or even a foreign coin, resulting in a dramatic difference in weight, thickness, and appearance. And these are extremely rare, but when found, they become prized pieces in any advanced collection. And that's not all. The 1990 quarter has also been found with rotated dies, an error where the front and back of the coin don't align properly when flipped, resulting in a noticeable misalignment that attracts premium prices, especially when the rotation is 90 degrees or more. And even more subtle issues, like strike-through errors, where a foreign object like grease, wire, or fabric becomes lodged between the die and planchet during striking, can create eerie and mysterious distortions in the coin's design that make it a curiosity and a hot commodity among specialists. And when any of these errors are paired with excellent condition, meaning the coin has little or no wear, strong luster, and a clean surface free of major scratches or contact marks, the value increases significantly, and collectors rely on professional grading services like PCGS and NGC to evaluate and encapsulate such coins, and these grading companies assign a grade from 1 to 70, with higher grades exponentially increasing the coin's market value, especially when coupled with the aforementioned errors. And even coins without dramatic visible errors can be worth a lot if they come from a known error die pair or show subtle but verifiable anomalies. And you may be wondering how such mistakes occur in a modern minting facility with advanced machinery and rigorous quality control. But even today, human oversight, mechanical fatigue, and high-speed production environments create the perfect storm for small but valuable imperfections to slip through unnoticed until a sharp-eyed collector finds them, and some lucky individuals have done just that, discovering 1990D quarters with powerful error combinations, like a double die reverse, an off-center strike, or a cud and die crack pairing. That makes their coin a unique piece of American minting history, and these coins have gone on to sell at public auctions and private sales for hundreds of dollars, with verified specimens reaching or exceeding $439, a phenomenal return on a 25-cent investment. And while many of these coins are circulated, meaning they've passed through many hands and show signs of wear, even circulated error coins can retain significant value when the error is prominent and well preserved, and that's why it's critical to examine every quarter you come across, especially those minted in 1990 in Denver, looking closely at both the obverse and reverse, the lettering, the details in George Washington's face and hair, the feathers on the eagle, the edges of the coin, the mint mark, and any irregularities in shape, texture, or finish, because any of these signs could point to a rare error coin. And with coin collecting apps, USB microscopes, and online communities available today, it has never been easier to learn, compare, share, and even sell your findings, turning an everyday object into a high-value asset. And forums like CoinTalk, Reddit r/coins, Facebook numismatic groups, and YouTube videos show real examples of people striking gold, sometimes literally, by identifying errors that others missed. And when a 1990D quarter with a strong double die error or off-metal planchet goes to auction, the excitement is electric as bidders compete for ownership of a piece of flawed perfection, because in a world where perfection is mass-produced, imperfection becomes a treasure. And coins like these remind us that what sets something apart is often what makes it worth so much more. So if you haven't already, start checking your quarters, especially from 1990 with AD mint mark. Look for telltale signs of errors, and consider having your most promising finds graded and authenticated, because the potential payoff can be far greater than you ever imagined. And whether you're new to the hobby or a seasoned collector, the thrill of discovery, the joy of history in your hands, and the financial reward of a rare find await those willing to look closely. So keep an eye out, stay curious, and always remember that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest secrets. And if you enjoyed this exploration into the 1990D quarter and want to stay informed about more valuable coins hiding in everyday change, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep learning, because the next treasure could be right in your pocket. Next, 1980D quarter dollar USA coin. Today we're shining the spotlight on the incredible 1980D Washington quarter, a coin that was meant to be just another 25-cent piece in everyday circulation, but has surprised collectors and auction houses by reaching values up to $689, all because of the bizarre and fascinating minting errors that crept into its production during a period of high output demand and relatively limited quality control. And this episode will take you on a journey through everything that makes the 1980D quarter such a hot collectible item, from the Denver Mint striking process and the types of errors that are known to exist on these coins to how these mistakes occur, why they matter, and how you might spot one in your own change, because believe it or not, these coins still turn up in circulation today and could be sitting unnoticed in your wallet, jar of coins, or a forgotten piggy bank. And we'll begin by taking a closer look at the design of the 1980D quarter, which, like all Washington quarters of the era, features a left-facing portrait of George Washington on the obverse with the word Liberty above his head, "In God We Trust" to his left, the mint-marked D just to the right of the bow in his ponytail, and the date 1980 situated directly below, and the reverse side carries the familiar heraldic eagle clutching a bundle of arrows with an olive branch beneath, surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America above and $quarter below. And while this design remained largely unchanged throughout much of the 20th century, what sets certain examples apart, especially the 1980D, is the presence of rare and dramatic minting errors that can turn an otherwise ordinary coin into a piece of highly sought-after collectible currency. And one of the most significant and commonly found errors on this coin is the off-center strike, a condition where the coin blank, or planchet, is not properly aligned in the coin press during the striking process, resulting in a coin whose design is partially missing or misaligned, and the degree of this off-center strike can range from just a few percent, barely noticeable without magnification, to extreme examples where as much as 50% or more of the design is completely missing, and the value of such an error depends heavily on how dramatic the misalignment is and whether the date and mint mark remain visible, because collectors place a premium on coins where key identifying features, like the year and mint, are still legible despite the error. And another highly desirable error variety found on the 1980D quarter is the double die error, particularly on the obverse where doubling can be seen in the letters of Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," or the numerals in the date. And while not all doubling is valuable, machine doubling, for instance, is relatively common and usually not worth much. True hub doubling is rare and collectible, especially when it is bold, clearly visible to the naked eye, and affects multiple elements of the design. And this type of error occurs when the die itself has been impressed more than once by the master hub in slightly different positions, creating a ghost-like doubling effect that is transferred to every coin struck by that die. And examples of 1980D quarters with strong hub doubling are known to exist and have sold for impressive amounts at auction, especially when paired with high-grade condition. And then there are die cracks and die breaks, which occur as the coin dies themselves begin to wear down and deteriorate through repeated use, causing small fractures in the die that appear on the coin as raised lines, blobs, or unusual patterns that interrupt the normal flow of the design. And while minor die cracks may not add much value, more significant ones, especially those that span across Washington's face, the lettering, or the eagle's wings, can be quite dramatic and appealing to collectors, particularly when they create interesting shapes or patterns known colloquially as lightning bolts, eyelashes, or even zombie face, errors depending on their location. And when a piece of the die actually breaks off, the result is known as a cud, a raised, unstruck area on the coin's edge where the metal has filled in the missing part of the die. And 1980D quarters with sizable cuds are especially prized due to their rarity and the dramatic visual impact they have on the coin. And another class of error involves the coin planchet itself, such as clipped planchets where a portion of the metal blank was improperly punched from the sheet, leaving a curved, crescent-shaped gap that interrupts the design. And while small clips may be subtle, larger ones that intersect important design features can significantly raise the value of the coin. And then there are strike-through errors, where foreign materials like grease, thread, wire, or even fragments of other coins become lodged between the die and planchet during striking, creating strange indentations, smears, or ghost-like impressions on the coin surface, and these strike-throughs vary widely in appearance and value but are generally sought after when they are large, clear, and unusual, especially when they obscure significant parts of the design or lettering, and wrong planchet errors, though rare, can also occur, such as a quarter being struck on a blank intended for a nickel, penny, or foreign coin, leading to differences in weight, diameter, and metal composition that make the coin instantly noticeable to a trained eye and highly valuable. And another fascinating type of mint error involves broad strikes, where the collar that normally shapes the coin's edge is missing or misaligned during striking, causing the coin to be flattened and expanded with a smooth, unreeded edge, which again is a striking visual anomaly that many collectors appreciate. And let's not forget misaligned die strikes where one die is slightly off in position compared to the other, resulting in a coin where the obverse and reverse don't line up perfectly, and in severe cases this can cause a doubling effect on one side of the coin or even a partial collar error where part of the edge is smooth and part is reeded, and collectors value these for both their rarity and the insight they provide into the minting process. And we also have to consider the importance of coin grading and condition, because even a valuable error coin can see its value drop significantly if it is heavily worn, corroded, or damaged, and that's why high-grade examples of the 1980 D quarter, especially those with well-struck details and few signs of circulation, can fetch top dollar, with coins graded MS65 and above commanding significantly more than their lower-grade counterparts. And certified coins encapsulated and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC carry added trust and often attract higher bids from collectors looking for authentic, well-preserved pieces. And it's also worth noting that combinations of multiple errors on a single coin can skyrocket its value, such as an off-center strike combined with a clipped planchet or a die break along with strong hub doubling. And these multi-error coins are much rarer than coins with a single error and are often considered trophy pieces within collector circles. And what makes this even more exciting is that the 1980 D quarter had an extremely high mintage with hundreds of millions of coins produced, meaning that errors were more likely to occur and escape detection. And since many of these coins went into immediate circulation, there's still a strong chance that examples with rare errors could be hiding in plain sight in coin rolls, vending machines, coin-operated laundromats, or even your loose change. And part of the thrill for collectors is the hunt itself, searching through piles of quarters in the hope of spotting something unusual, a misplaced number, an extra line, a weird indentation, that could turn an ordinary moment into a profitable discovery. And numerous real-life stories have emerged of people finding valuable error coins completely by accident, simply because they took the time to look closely. And that's why awareness is key, knowing what to look for and how to recognize the telltale signs of value, whether it's a date that looks off, a letter that's doubled, or an edge that seems too wide or too smooth. And while most people spend quarters without a second thought, those in the know understand that knowledge is the real currency here. And as the market for rare coins continues to grow, with more collectors entering the scene and demand increasing for unique specimens, values are likely to rise even further, especially for coins that are verified, graded, and preserved. Next, 1989 $quarter USA coin. What if I told you that a simple $quarter minted in 1989 with a tiny P mint mark from the Philadelphia Mint, a coin that you've likely held in your hand dozens of times or unknowingly passed in change, could secretly be worth up to $645 or even more because of hidden minting errors, rare die varieties, and overlooked mistakes that only the most detail-oriented collectors are trained to notice. So welcome to the channel that dives deep into the hidden world of coins and currency where ordinary change can turn into extraordinary cash. And in this deep exploration we're uncovering everything you need to know about the 1989 P Washington quarter, a coin that seems common on the surface but has a reputation among collectors as one of the most overlooked treasures in modern U.S. coinage thanks to a slew of known and unknown errors that elevate its value from 25 cents to hundreds of dollars, and potentially more depending on condition, rarity, and how many collectors are currently in the market hunting for examples. And let's start by understanding that in 1989, the U.S. Mint produced over 512 million quarter dollars at the Philadelphia facility, which is an enormous number, but paradoxically, it's not the massive production that makes this coin rare, it's what went wrong during that process. Because with every coinage run of that magnitude, there are bound to be a few anomalies, a few mistakes, a few errors that sneak past quality control and make their way into circulation. And when these are identified, cataloged, and authenticated, they become goldmines for collectors. And one of the most discussed and valuable types of errors found on the 1989 P quarter is the double die variety, a result of the coin's die being misaligned during the hubbing process and receiving two impressions that are slightly offset, causing a visible doubling of the design elements on the struck coin, most commonly seen in the inscriptions "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," the date 1989, and occasionally in the intricate details of Washington's eye, mouth, and hair. And when a coin like this appears in the wild and is verified by a grading service like PCGS or NGC as a true double die and is still in high mint state condition, its value skyrockets because collectors clamor for these rare varieties and are willing to pay a premium to complete their sets. And then we have die cracks and die breaks, which are among the more dramatic errors because they leave raised, jagged lines or sometimes massive blobs of metal, known as cuds, on the coin, usually along the rim or intersecting the portrait or reverse eagle design, and each of these die cracks is unique to a specific die and becomes essentially a fingerprint, making every affected coin a one-of-a-kind collectible, especially when the crack is bold and obvious. And many 1989 P quarters with such flaws have already been documented, fetching hundreds of dollars in uncirculated condition. And that's just the beginning, because another valuable flaw is the off-center strike, where the coin is not correctly aligned between the dies during the striking process, resulting in part of the design being cut off and part of the planchet remaining blank. And collectors absolutely love off-center coins, especially when the date is still visible, because that gives the coin both character and confirmation of its rarity. And a 1989 P quarter that's off-center by 10% to 30% and still retains the full date has sold in the $300 to $645 range depending on grade. And then there are clipped planchets, where the blank metal disc used to strike the coin was punched out too close to the edge of a sheet, resulting in a curved clip missing from the final coin. And these are visually striking errors that are often obvious even to the untrained eye, but when found on a coin from a high mintage year like 1989, they become especially interesting because they suggest lapses in a minting process that should have been tightly controlled, and collectors are always excited to acquire errors from years that are considered otherwise unremarkable. And moving along, we find the category of struck-through errors, where debris, grease, wire, or even fragments of other coins end up between the die and planchet at the moment of striking, leaving ghostly or strange impressions on the coin surface. And 1989 P quarters with struck-through cloth or fiber have been seen with unusual textures or depressions, and the weirder and more dramatic the strike-through, the higher the market value, especially if the coin is in good shape. And then there are the transitional errors, though rare for 1989, where a coin is mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination or year, such as a quarter struck on a nickel or foreign planchet, which affects the coin's weight, thickness, and appearance. And when discovered, these become ultra-valuable because they represent major production failures. And even beyond the major errors, there are smaller anomalies that still command attention and value, such as machine doubling, where elements of the design appear slightly shifted due to movement during the striking process, which is not as valuable as true double dies, but still collectible when dramatic. Or coins with misaligned dies where the obverse and reverse are not perfectly centered with one another, leading to a noticeable tilt or lopsided appearance that numismatists find fascinating. And let's not forget about missing design elements caused by grease-filled dies where portions of Washington's face or the eagle on the reverse appear weak, missing, or smoothed out entirely because the die was partially clogged at the time of striking, and these errors, while subtle, are valued when they result in dramatic or clearly altered appearances. And the appeal of the 1989 P quarter also lies in the fact that most people never think to check this date, assuming it's too modern or too common to be of interest, which means valuable errors remain in circulation, in change drawers, in jars, in boxes at estate sales and flea markets, just waiting for someone with knowledge and a magnifying glass to identify them and reap the rewards. And this stealthy rarity adds to its charm because it's like finding a treasure in plain sight. And when you consider that a single coin from this year with the right combination of error and condition can fetch more than 2,500 times its face value, it's clear why this coin is quickly rising in prominence among collectors of modern U.S. coinage. And grading is crucial too, because a coin with a dramatic error in poor shape might still be worth something, but when that same error is found on a coin graded MS65 or higher, the value can leap exponentially. So if you think you've found a 1989 P quarter with any of the mentioned anomalies, your next step is preservation and authentication, putting it in a safe holder and submitting it to a reputable grading service where its error will be documented, certified, and potentially bring you hundreds of dollars in return. And don't forget the power of auction results and online sales, which have continued to show strong demand for error coins from this year, with some examples achieving price records well beyond expectations thanks to collector bidding wars. And if you're asking how such a modern coin could be so valuable, it comes down to a combination of rarity, dramatic visual appeal, market demand, and overall condition. And because the 1989 P quarter doesn't get as much attention as Silver Era quarters or state quarters, that makes it a sleeper hit in the collecting world, where smart buyers and sellers are cashing in while others pass it by. And the truth is that many people walk by wealth every day simply because they haven't been taught what to look for. So learning the signs of coin errors like doubling, misalignment, clipping, cracking, and strike-throughs puts you at a major advantage and opens up a world of possibilities. And for the 1989 P quarter, that world includes countless variations and undiscovered treasures still hiding in everyday circulation. And that's why serious collectors never stop checking their change, because even now, decades after these coins were minted, new varieties are being discovered and cataloged all the time. And who's to say that the next groundbreaking find won't be sitting right there in your pocket? So next time you see that familiar Washington face with a 1989 date and a little P below it, take a second to really look, because it might just be the one that changes everything. So stay vigilant, stay curious, keep learning, and if you enjoyed this exploration into the hidden value of a seemingly ordinary coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss out on the next coin that could be worth a small fortune hiding in your pocket right now. Last 1984 D quarter dollar USA coin. What if I told you that nestled in your pocket change, hiding in plain sight, maybe even lying at the bottom of a coin jar you haven't checked in years, there could be a 1984 D Washington quarter that doesn't just represent 25 cents of spending power, but could instead hold a secret value of up to $754, or even more depending on its condition, errors, and overall appeal to collectors. Welcome to the channel where today we uncover the jaw-dropping truth behind one of the most unsuspecting and yet astonishingly valuable coins in modern U.S. minting history, the 1984 D Washington quarter dollar, a piece that most people wouldn't look twice at, yet for numismatists and seasoned collectors represents a treasure trove of possibility due to an incredible range of mint errors, production anomalies, and rare strike issues that have catapulted this otherwise ordinary coin into the spotlight and onto the auction block. So buckle up, because we're diving into a world where a 25-cent coin, minted by the Denver Mint in 1984, becomes a star player in the numismatic world, not because of its historical age or precious metal content, but because of the precise and fascinating imperfections that occurred during its production, starting with one of the most significant types of errors known to affect the 1984 quarter, off-center strikes, where the coin is not perfectly aligned with the dies during minting, and as a result the design elements like George Washington's bust or the inscriptions on the reverse appear shifted, incomplete, or partially missing, and in many cases these off-center strikes range from 5% to 90%, with the most valuable specimens typically showing 40 to 60% off-center misalignment, while still retaining visible date and mint mark details. And then there are the highly prized double die errors, especially when they appear on the obverse, where features like the date 1984, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" show signs of duplication or shadow-like doubling caused by die alignment errors during the hubbing process, and coins with strong, clear doubling that is easily visible to the naked eye become immediate targets for collectors looking to secure extremely limited and high-grade error specimens. And as if that weren't enough, other major error types that make the 1984 quarter a standout include broad-struck coins, which occur when a quarter is struck outside of the retaining collar, leading to an expanded or distorted shape that causes the rim to disappear and the design to spread unnaturally outward, giving the coin a warped, stretched appearance that is instantly eye-catching and highly collectible. And then there's the possibility of clipped planchets, where part of the metal blank is sheared off prior to striking, resulting in a coin that looks like it has a crescent moon bite taken out of it, and the positioning of this clip, whether it cuts through design features or leaves inscriptions partially visible, can add dramatically to its value, especially when paired with other errors like doubling or die cracks. And speaking of die cracks, one of the most fascinating categories of errors affecting the 1984 quarter involves die breaks, where fatigue in the die itself causes raised lines or ridges to appear across the coin surface, and depending on the severity and position, these can form what collectors refer to as cuds, or retained die breaks, that can dramatically increase the coin's desirability and market price, particularly when they stretch across the portrait of Washington or dissect inscriptions in a visually striking way. And then we also have misaligned die strikes, where the obverse and reverse dies are not perfectly synchronized during the stamping process, leading to a coin that appears tilted or off-kilter, sometimes resulting in part of one side being struck off-center, while the reverse remains normally aligned. And such coins not only present visual intrigue, but also a tangible connection to the complex and occasionally flawed process of minting billions of coins at high speeds. And it's these kinds of imperfections, sometimes minor and subtle, sometimes dramatic and unmistakable, that separate valuable 1984 quarters from ordinary pocket change. And while individual error types can drive prices into the hundreds, it's the combination of errors that truly sends values skyrocketing, like a double die paired with an off-center strike, or a broad-struck coin featuring a clipped planchet and dramatic die crack all at once. And when coins with these multifaceted errors are preserved in high grades, mint state 65 or higher, they command premium prices at auctions, sometimes exceeding $754 when competition among collectors is fierce. And that's not even considering the market psychology behind such coins, where scarcity, condition, notoriety, and demand all intersect to create the perfect storm of value. And for many collectors, owning a coin like the 1984 era quarter isn't just about resale potential, it's about possessing a one-of-a-kind artifact that tells a story of mechanical malfunction, human oversight, and the immense complexity of the minting process. And what makes the 1984 D quarter particularly intriguing is that it was minted in the middle of a decade known for numerous transitional issues and high-volume production, increasing the likelihood of error coins slipping through quality control unnoticed. And with the Denver Mint producing hundreds of millions of quarters that year, even a tiny percentage of error coins represents thousands of potentially collectible specimens, yet many are still unaccounted for, lost in circulation or sitting unrecognized in coin jars, which is why it's more important than ever to examine every 1984 D quarter you come across carefully, checking for telltale signs of doubling, edge distortions, unusual metal colors that might suggest wrong planchet errors, or any off-center characteristics that break the mold of a standard issue. And speaking of wrong planchets, another extremely rare but documented error involves 1984 D quarters being struck on planchets intended for other denominations or even foreign coins, leading to quarters that weigh less or more than standard, appear duller or shinier, or even lack complete design features due to size mismatches. And when authenticated by third-party grading services, these wrong planchet quarters can explode in value due to their sheer rarity and technical intrigue. And some such specimens have achieved notoriety in collector circles for their extreme deviations, such as quarters struck on nickel blanks or experimental planchets that never should have been in the quarter die press in the first place. And adding to the desirability of the 1984 D era quarter is the emotional and historical value associated with coins from the 1980s, a period now seen with increasing nostalgia and collector interest, especially as Gen X and early millennial collectors return to the hobby. And for them, discovering a high-value era coin from their formative years isn't just about money, it's a connection to the past. And that emotional resonance fuels demand and increases market prices further. And if we look at auction records, we can find that multiple specimens of the 1984 D quarter with errors have crossed the $754 mark, particularly those in exceptional condition with well-documented and photographed anomalies. And these coins often come with grading slabs from PCGS or NGC describing the exact nature of the error and the assigned condition. And once a coin reaches that level of recognition, it becomes more than just a collectible. It becomes a reference point in numismatic literature and guides, further pushing its value and desirability. And in some extraordinary cases, provenance can add another layer of intrigue, such as when a coin comes from a well-known collection, was featured in a prominent numismatic publication, or was part of a famous error coin discovery roll. And all of this serves to show just how complex, fascinating, and potentially lucrative the world of error coins truly is, especially when we focus on an underrated year like 1984 and a common mint like Denver, which together produce something as seemingly ordinary as a Washington quarter and turned it into a rare, high-demand collectible through the chaotic and unpredictable magic of minting errors. So whether you're just getting started in coin collecting or you're a seasoned enthusiast, make sure to keep an eye out for 1984 D quarters and scrutinize them carefully, because if you happen to find one of these remarkable mistake-laden gems, you could be holding a coin that turns 25 cents into $754 or far more.